Have you ever heard of divorce papers being filed without one's consent? I thought that even if such things happened, they would never concern me. I've divorced the broke, sick one. This was the message I received while I was hospitalized due to the stress of my husband's affair. After agreeing to the divorce as he wanted, I took what I had and went straight to the bank after being discharged to make my elite banker ex-husband pay for his infidelity. My name is Alyssa. I am a handmade artist, married to Howard for 6 years. We were classmates at the bank and lived happily together. But recently our marriage had not been going well. About 6 months ago, Howard started coming home late and became inseparable from his phone. He used to talk on the phone inside the house, but now he often went out to the car to talk. I suspected he was cheating, and after much deliberation, I hired a detective agency. It cost some money, but I thought it would be worth it just for peace of mind. I decided to pay it. A month after hiring the agency, I learned of Howard's infidelity. The other woman was a girl named Megan, who works at the same bank. It seems she knew he was married and kept approaching him. The report included pictures of them entering a hotel, kissing on the street, and enjoying a meal together. I couldn't give up on Howard. I was sure Howard's affair was just a momentary lapse. He would surely come back to me. I wanted to believe that and tried even harder to be a good wife. I changed my hairstyle, put on makeup, put extra effort into cooking, and always kept a smile. But none of it was noticed, and it went unappreciated. The days he wouldn't touch his meals increased, and I was mentally cornered. I had decided not to confront him. But seeing Howard happily going out with his phone every day, I couldn't hold back any longer. You seem busy lately. You get a lot of calls. Do you have so much work that you have to deal with it even after you come home?
Yeah.
You married me after working at the bank for about 2 years, right? You might not understand because it's a busy period now. You're lucky, aren't you? You don't have a busy season. And you don't earn much. It must be nice to be a carefree handmade artist. Howard said this and laughed at me as if mocking me. I was shocked by his behavior. Howard used to appreciate my work and never ridiculed me like this. He always praised the pieces I made and supported me even when I worked late into the night. You don't have to say it like that. I may not be as busy as Howard, but I take my work seriously as a job. At least, I'm not doing it carelessly. I don't know how much Alyssa earns, but it's definitely less than me, right? I pay half of the rent, utilities, and living expenses, so you can live. It's tough for a woman without earning power. If I divorced you, you wouldn't be able to live. What kind of way is that to talk? I earn enough to pay half. But right now, that doesn't matter. What? Howard, do you want to divorce me? I couldn't control myself when Howard mentioned divorce. Tears overflowed uncontrollably, and seeing me like that, Howard sighed. It's annoying to deal with an adult who cries so easily, he said dismissively and left the living room. From the next day, Howard's attitude towards me became even colder. He perfectly ignored me when I tried to talk to him. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. Despite the situation, I kept wondering how we could go back to being the loving couple we once were. I was stressed out and often cried for no reason. I hadn't consulted anyone about my relationship with Howard, but I couldn't bear it alone anymore. I decided to meet my best friend from high school, Sarah, who is a successful career woman, to seek advice. I shared my feelings with Sarah through tears. Howard is completely smitten with that woman, Megan. He's coming home later and later. What should I do? Alyssa, do you still love your husband even in such a situation? Do you want to get back to how you were before? When Sarah asked me that, I honestly expressed my feelings. It sounds silly, but I still love him. I don't want to give up, but honestly, it's all so hard. It was then that a sudden bout of intense coughing overtook me, and I bent forward. I have had asthma for a long time. And it worsened due to the stress from my relationship with Howard. I tried to use my inhaler, but the coughing was too severe to breathe in any of the medicine. The relentless coughing became unbearable. I couldn't even sit up and collapsed onto the floor. Alyssa. Alyssa, are you okay? Stay with me. Someone, please, call an ambulance. Sarah desperately called out to me, but I couldn't respond. I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. Alyssa. Oh good, you're awake. Are you okay? Can you understand me? Looking towards the sound, I saw Sarah with tears in her eyes. I tried to speak cautiously, although coughing, I managed to say sorry somehow. Sarah, crying, nodded and quickly pressed the nurse call button. Then the doctor came and explained that my asthma symptoms were severe, and I needed to be hospitalized for about a week. I had nothing with me for a sudden hospital stay. Sarah bought a hospital kit sold at the shop and filled out the admission forms for me. I tried to call my husband to inform him about the hospitalization, but I couldn't talk. Sarah called his mobile, but he didn't answer. I thought about contacting his workplace, but fearing their reaction, I couldn't muster the courage. Eventually, Sarah composed an email for me and sent it. Sarah stayed until the visiting hours were almost over, then left. After that, I was in and out of sleep due to the medication. I checked for messages from Howard, but the first contact came at 1 a.m. Since you're hospitalized, there's nothing I can do, right? I'm busy with work, so I won't visit. Seeing that email made me feel truly sad, miserable, and hurt. It wasn't just that he couldn't visit because of work, but that he wouldn't visit because he no longer loved me. I thought I shouldn't cry, but tears flowed uncontrollably. I didn't reply to his email and cried until morning. 2 days passed. Howard didn't come, but Sarah frequently stopped by after work. You look a bit better. Are you able to eat? I brought your favorite novel. Sarah's lively arrival and her smiling face were so comforting. I can't thank her enough. Thank you. I feel much better today. My cough has settled down a lot. The doctor said we might consider discharging me in about 2 days. Sarah was thrilled, planning to go eat something healthy together once I was discharged. Discussing where to go, we were chatting when I received an email notification. I've divorced the broke, sick one. That was the content of the email from Howard. No matter how many times I read it, I couldn't understand it. And I froze, holding my phone, my heart pounding, my mind in turmoil. You don't earn much, right? It's laughable that you get sick without doing any significant work. I filed for divorce because the wife lottery was a huge failure. Take care. Seeing the subsequent email, I laughed involuntarily. It was all so absurd. To have an asthma attack, be hospitalized, and be divorced by Howard during it. Tears flowed as I laughed. Seeing my state, Sarah became quite frantic and shook my shoulders. Hey. Alyssa, what's wrong? Are you okay? Hey. In my turmoil, I showed Sarah the email from Howard. As she read it, her face turned red with anger. Alyssa, I knew you loved your husband, and that's why I didn't say anything before. But now, maybe it's enough, isn't it? Sarah knew what she wanted to say. Sarah started crying as she became emotional, but she put her feelings into words. Just get a divorce, Alyssa. Take care of yourself. Even if you love him, sorry for my harsh words, but you can't be happy with such a crappy man. Sarah apologized, knowing that it's usually not her place to intervene in marital issues. In response, I found myself apologizing to her. It's okay, really. I knew it already. I realized I couldn't do this anymore. But I lacked the courage to get a divorce and kept looking away. But now, I can't do it anymore. I will divorce Howard. When Howard first brought up divorce, I was scared of splitting up. I still loved Howard, and I was afraid of how others would react to our divorce. But once I made the decision myself, the fear of divorce strangely disappeared. I think it's because I could finally give up from the bottom of my heart. That's right. Let's do that. Let's enjoy being single and have fun together again. Yes.
Ah.
I really feel relieved. Thank you, Sarah. I'm so glad you are here for me. Alyssa, you're my dear friend, of course. Wait, but how was he able to file for divorce? Where is your signature? As Sarah's anger flared up again, thinking it might be a forgery, I explained. When we got married, we prepared divorce papers with both our signatures on them. It sounds silly. But we agreed to discuss anything and overcome any crisis as a couple without using these papers. Well, we couldn't even discuss it, right? I managed to laugh. But Sarah didn't find it funny and sighed in exasperation. I see. So he just pulled those out, filled in his part, and submitted them. It might not be forgery, but it's really appalling. I was worried about being divorced by Howard in such a situation. So I had hidden it in the room. Maybe he found it and filled in his signature and submitted it? Now, I truly feel it's good that he filed them. I couldn't decide to divorce because I still loved Howard, but now it's different. Just as Howard no longer has feelings for me, I no longer have feelings for him. I'm not foolish enough to continue loving someone after being treated like this. Since then, Howard has been sending one-sided messages. Since you don't have any property and I don't want to give you any of my money, I won't divide the property. The house is in my name, so get out. I'm kind enough to wait until the end of the month. I don't want to bump into you, so I won't return home until after the month ends. Make sure the room is clean at the end. Honestly, what is he thinking? The sheer selfishness made me laugh again. I showed the email to Sarah while laughing. Look, Sarah. Now I've lost the house. What should I do? Going back to my parents' home is too far. I never intended to stay in that house, and I have important handmade parts there. If I had to move them, it would probably fill an entire room. Appropriate size, security, rent. Can I quickly find a place that fits all these criteria? As I pondered, Sarah laughed. Have you forgotten where your best friend works? Ma'am, leave it to me. I'll find you the perfect place. Sorry, I really forgot. That's right. Please, Sarah, I'm counting on you. I asked Sarah for help. Sarah works in real estate. Finding a room is her specialty, a professional among professionals. I decided to leave everything to this capable woman. Sarah then brought lots of property information to the hospital until my discharge day, spreading it out on the bed and explaining it to me. As a result, we were able to find a property close to what I wanted. I had to stay at Sarah's place after discharge until I gathered the necessary documents for moving in. I'm really sorry. I've caused you so much trouble. It's okay. I have good sales performance, right? I've been second in charge at the store for a while. Sorry, rental contracts involve a lot of documents and there's an inspection, so it takes time. You can stay at my house as long as you like until it's settled. Thank you so much. I'll help out with anything I can. Take it easy and regain your strength. By the way, has your ex-husband contacted you since then? No, not a word. After all, he's a stranger now. But I do get calls from people from our bank days. Apparently, I was a terrible wife. Indeed, my ex-husband seems to have announced the divorce at his workplace. But he apparently blamed the divorce on me. I don't do household chores, nor do I contribute financially to the house. Yet I pour money into his hobbies. Whenever he tries to discuss things, I just get hysterical and it's impossible to handle. It's laughable at this point. Which face is he talking with? I want to tell him. Weren't you the one who cheated? It seems Sarah has reached a point where she can only laugh about it. So? You're not planning to let it end like this, right? Alyssa, what will you do? Grinning mischievously, Sarah made me laugh too. There's no way I'd let it end like this. He had his fun, but now it's my turn. Of course. I won't hold back against a man who shows no sincerity. And a woman who meddles with a married man. I have a few plans, so look forward to it. Just you wait, both of you. Enjoy your peaceful newlywed life while you can. I had already started my move for revenge. 2 days later, on the day I was discharged from the hospital, Sarah drove me straight to the bank where my ex-husband Howard and his current wife Megan were. Entering the bank, I saw Howard in the back. It had been a while since I saw his face. It had been about a month and a half since the divorce papers were filed while I was hospitalized. I thought seeing Howard would infuriate me, but that feeling didn't arise. Then I looked for Megan, who I had seen in photos, and found her at the counter. Sitting there with a composed face after stealing someone's husband. I took a number and waited for my turn. Luckily, I was called to Megan's counter. Welcome. Megan greeted me with a smile. Hello. I'm sorry to bother you, but I would like to close a bank account. Certainly. Are you closing just one account? Here it comes. I took a deep breath to steady my voice. No. It's for all 800 employees of my company. The announcement caused a stir behind the counter. Howard looked at me, surprised. He seemed like he wanted to say something, his mouth opening and closing. For all 800 accounts? Megan also panicked at the counter, and I couldn't help but laugh. Closing 800 payroll accounts is a big loss for the bank. It's not just about losing deposits. With interest rates currently low, the bank counts on transaction fees like money transfers and payroll transaction fees for profit. Losing these would be significant. Yes, all of them. Thank you very much. While presenting the company's bank books, I spoke up. You. What are you doing? Didn't you just say something? Company? 800 employees? What are you talking about? Howard approached the counter. His behavior confused the other customers in the bank. Oh, long time no see. Have you been well? What I mean is just that. I'm a president. I've been a president even while we were married. It's a company related to handmade crafts. So I'm a president and an artist. I spoke the truth at the counter. You're a president. What? I didn't know that. You never said that when we were married, right? Right, I never said it. You always mocked me as a failing handmade artist, right? I didn't want to hurt your pride since I earn more than you. Megan, who probably didn't know my face, looked at me in shock. She muttered in a low voice, "This person? Hello. I'm his ex-wife. Please proceed with the cancellation quickly." Howard and Megan were frozen by the unexpected turn of events. Then someone called out to me. Alyssa. It's been a while, you seem well. There was Mr. Reynolds, who had been my boss until I married Howard. Many of my colleagues found him tough, but I liked him. He was strict with others, but he was just as strict with himself. When I was getting married, he tearfully wished me happiness. Mr. Reynolds. It's been a long time. You look well too. I momentarily forgot the reason I came here, just happy to see Mr. Reynolds.
Ah.
I'm fine. I heard about you from him and was worried. It seems you've been through a lot. While we wait for the procedures, how about we talk in my office? These two will be there as well. Mr. Reynolds glanced sharply at Howard and Megan. Probably, the reports he received from Howard were about our divorce and his remarriage to Megan. Their faces, which were red just a moment ago, are now pale. It's been a busy day for them, changing colors like that. I don't mind at all. I'd love to catch up with Mr. Reynolds. That's good to hear. Let's go to the reception room on the 3rd floor. You two, come along right away. We headed to the customer reception room on the 3rd floor. Mr. Reynolds opened the door for us, and I thanked him as we entered the room and took our seats. It really has been a long time, Mr. Reynolds. I'm sorry to meet under these circumstances. I apologized, and Mr. Reynolds smiled at me. No. The circumstances of our reunion surprised me. But I'm glad to see you're doing well. I was shocked when he told me about the divorce. And about his immediate remarriage to her as well. Mr. Reynolds glanced at Megan and said, "And I don't believe for a second that the reason for the divorce was your fault." Wait, Mr. Reynolds. Are you implying that we are to blame? Is it not the case? If it's not, I apologize. I taught her at work for years. She was always organized, cleaned meticulously. And I remember she used to bring homemade lunches every day, didn't she? Yes. I responded, surprised that Mr. Reynolds remembered such details from years ago. It was nice to know he had noticed my efforts. Not doing housework. Not contributing financially to the house, but spending money on hobbies. Getting hysterically angry when trying to discuss things. You've been spreading that these were the reasons for the divorce, but Alyssa is not like that. Mr. Reynolds's firm statement nearly brought me to tears, happy that someone understood me. That's the truth. Mr. Reynolds only knows her from work. Moreover, you may suspect we had an inappropriate relationship, but that's not the case. Yes, that's true. I wasn't cheating. I just couldn't stand to see Howard so upset after his divorce. And I supported him until he proposed. The two of them spouted such lies in front of Mr. Reynolds. Megan was even tearful, pleading her case as if she were a tragic heroine. Ridiculous. I was the one who was hurt. I took out a document as thick as a notebook from my bag. Would you like to see this, Mr. Reynolds? This is all evidence of their inappropriate relationship. You two can look too. Or perhaps you already know what's in it, since it's all too familiar to you. I handed over the investigation report from the detective agency to Mr. Reynolds. He took it firmly, easily dodging Megan as she tried to grab it with a scream. Sit down and be quiet. Megan shrieked and clung to Howard. Hey, what is this? You said your wife was so dumb she wouldn't notice anything. This isn't what we agreed on. Megan, it's different. She really is dumb. I never thought she would do something like this. The nerve to call someone dumb. I was just about to complain when Mr. Reynolds exploded in anger. The fools are you two. Cheating while married, and you approaching a married man. Both of you are complete idiots. Playing the victim? You two are the offenders, and Alyssa is the victim. Thank you for saying everything I wanted to say. I feel so much better. But may I add something too? Of course. Go ahead and say it. I won't stop you. I was really grateful for Mr. Reynolds, who was incredibly angry on my behalf. He nodded vigorously at me and began reading the report at an incredible pace. By the way, his frown was quite something. You called me stupid, but do you think a stupid person can run a company? You were the one who earned less, weren't you? How much was your annual salary again? $100,000. That's enough, isn't it? Howard looked so proud of his $100,000 salary. Megan nodded along, oddly smug as well. Oh, is that so? Well, it's not enough, is it? I make $400,000. I have 800 employees, and it's our 4th year in business. I started a company with my friends in the very handmade craft field you belittled. $400,000. $400,000. The faces of Howard and Megan were quite a sight to behold. The fact that the person they had belittled was actually a president earning $400,000 was probably too much information for them. Yes. It's getting busy, so I plan to hire more employees. I had made this bank the account holder for my employees for your sake. But I don't need to be considerate anymore. So, I'm going to cancel everything. Wait. Just wait. If you cancel, it will reduce the bank's deposits. And having salary accounts helps with things like house mortgage. If you cancel them, it will hurt the bank. Have you forgotten that I used to work at a bank? It's funny how you state such obvious banking knowledge as if it's something remarkable. Yes, I know. It's basic knowledge for a banker. Are you belittling me? Why should I be considerate of an ex-husband who filed for divorce without my consent while I was hospitalized for asthma due to stress from his infidelity? And these two are forgetting something important. I reminded them sharply. Moreover, you committed adultery inside the bank, didn't you? You think you can continue on your elite path after this? And you too. Megan was already crying. Howard looked down, frustrated, and then suddenly he knelt down. Please. I'm sorry, forgive me. It was just a fling. A fling. You understand, right? She came on to me, and I just went along with it. Megan screamed at Howard's words. What are you saying? Are you blaming me? You were the one who said there was no love left in your marriage. And that things weren't going well. Megan was clinging to and shaking Howard. A cheap soap opera had suddenly started, and I couldn't help but laugh. It was so trivial. Too trivial. Are you serious? What value does such a kneeling apology have? You have no value. Mr. Reynolds took over the conversation, his voice filled with disbelief. Indeed. Now that I've seen irrefutable evidence, I'll ensure proper penalties are applied. Your affair caused the bank to suffer a massive loss of accounts. You seem well aware of the disadvantages of account closures. So you wouldn't dispute the punishment, right? Howard hung his head low, and Megan cried out loud. I wish they would stop playing the victims until the end. I left the punishment up to Mr. Reynolds and exited the room. It seemed the account closures had been completed while we were talking. And I left the bank feeling refreshed. Later, I received a call from Mr. Reynolds informing me that the two had been dismissed for misconduct. This time, Howard's infidelity resulted in a significant loss of accounts. And the bank decided the negative impact was substantial. The two, now unemployed, were struggling with their job search and couldn't find work. They couldn't pay their mortgage and were kicked out of their apartment. And their friends refused to lend them money. Incidentally, I ignore all calls and emails from Howard pleading to get back together because he is divorcing Megan. I forward the laughable emails to Sarah, and we laugh about them together. I also made sure to claim damages through a lawyer. Howard told the lawyer that since I started the company after our marriage, the company's assets should be part of the marital property division, but unfortunately for him, the company's assets are not subject to property division. I thought divorce would be hard, but working hard after divorce, I feel happier. I wish I had divorced sooner. It's funny how people are. I have plenty of money to spend freely and no complaints. From now on, I plan to live my life valuing myself more.